Hi everybody, this is August 5th, 2022, and this is my shade garden, which is on the east side of my house. So that's my neighbor's house and my house here. But none of these plants were here that are in this garden. It was just the trees with mulch, a little bit of mulch. It's actually almost completely broken down. So I need to add mulch in, but I've planted a variety of hostas. These are actually some dahlias that I just had extra bulbs and I didn't know where to put them, so I just threw them in here. I don't even know if they'll bloom because it doesn't get a lot of sun. Some liriope. I've got some iris in that pot. More hosta. Lemon lace elderberry bush. I'm super excited about that one. Around the back here, I planted a clematis. This little guy is only about 2 weeks in the ground, and I am really happy with his growth. When I got this plant, it was maybe this tall, and it's already got this long stem, and it's looking really good considering how hot it's been. I put it on the east side of the tree, and although I don't have anything covering up the bottom of the plant like you would normally do, I don't think it's going to be a problem because this side of the yard is always shaded. So what I expect it to do is just grow around the front, reaching for the sunlight, and climb up this tall evergreen tree. This type of clematis is a Samaritan Joe. And if my memory serves me correct, they only get about, I don't know, less than 10 feet. I'm not sure their exact height. This one I just planted a few days ago, so it's looking pretty rough because we're in the middle of a heat wave, but it's a mystical penstemon, and hoping that it does okay in this spot. It says it can tolerate part shade, and this particular section of this border does get some morning sun that kind of comes in from that direction, and then it also gets afternoon sun. Once the sun passes down on the other side of this tree here, it starts shooting across and lights up this whole part of my garden for at least a few hours. So hopefully that will do all right. I forget what this bush is called. I transplanted this one because I needed the spot where it was, and it's actually doing really good. Looks cute. It was a pain in the butt to move because it must have been there for years, but once I got it moved, it was fine. I just planted this actually yesterday. That's a Aurelia Sun King bush. Got more hosta, more liriope, however you say that. And then this is, my God, what is this called? I think it's I'm so terrible with the names of all the plants. I want to say, I'm just completely drawing a blank. I'll go back and look at the tag and see if I can add it in. And then another dahlia over here. So, this is really year one for my garden. I did start gardening my terrace last summer, but this shade garden I only started this spring, so it is still pretty brand new, with the exception of this shrub that was here when I bought the house, and then that other one down at the other end was also there when I bought the house. And then this little wall that you see behind is my neighbor's. That's kind of the property line, so the hostas, the bigger, more established hostas back there, belong to my neighbor. This is the east side of my yard. As you can see, there's almost nothing here, and I do plan to start planting some bushes and some various plants to establish a little bit of privacy between our property and theirs. I just planted this about a week ago. This is a Little Kim lilac bush. I bought it on clearance, so I'm pretty sure it bloomed earlier this year, I don't know, or maybe it didn't, who knows. But that should eventually get tall enough to block their air conditioning unit. And then just all along here, I plan on developing this whole path. So between this little rock wall and this other smaller rock border, which is our property line, I'm going to develop this whole area into kind of bushes along the back and then flowers, some sort of garden bed in front of it. So that is going to take me quite a bit of time. The only other thing of note here on the east side of my house, actually there's two more things. This is just a blushing bride hydrangea I bought on clearance and still haven't decided where to put it. Needs shade. This right here is a honeysuckle, and I bought it to eventually grow up this radon removal system. It's kind of ugly. I don't really know what to do with it, and I figured, why not cover it? So I'm going to put some honeysuckle in there and see how that does. It's my shed. Back there is my incredibly wild, overgrown composting area. That needs to be reorganized because right now I'm just literally just dumping stuff, and the weeds and everything are just growing in there. And I can't dig out the good dirt. So I need to kind of go back in and like dig everything out, put up some crates or something to divide it into sections, and then make this like a real functional compost area. Because it's a good size. It's probably about 12 or 15 feet across from the road to the shed. Like my little sign, I got that at Goodwill. And last thing, this tiny little bed here, I've got an azalea bush, which is probably getting more sun than it wants. That is a year old and it has not bloomed or anything, but not surprising, it's so small. I have some agastache plants and some daylilies that had beautiful kind of corally, peachy colored blooms that lasted one night, and then the deer came through and ate them. So I'm very frustrated about that. I didn't see that coming, but now I know that I have to work on that for this space, work on how to either prevent it from happening or maybe just move those since they seem to be a favorite of the deer. I'm not sure. So much to come in this whole space, and that's probably going to take me the next few years at least to get this looking the way that I want it to look. One final note, I mentioned this in my other video about my hot garden, my bog garden, but this big tree that's planted back there has to come down. I'm very sad about it. I love this big tree. I don't know if I can get it in view without getting the sun blocking out the picture, but this tree is probably as old as our house. Our house is 140 years old, built in 1880. Well, not this back part, that was an addition, but the front part, the two-story part, was built in 1880. Anyway, tree is dying, and it dropped a huge limb on our roof on this east side over here about, gosh, I don't know, 3-4 months ago, and just scared the bejesus out of me. I was sitting in the living room and it landed with an enormous thud. Very lucky that it didn't damage the roof, but it very well could have, and I just don't feel safe with such large limbs going over the top of my house. And it's also quite messy. It's the kind of tree that drops those helicopter seed pods every year. I mean, every time it drops its leaves, it's an enormous task to clean it up. And then it also has like some sort of fuzzy stuff that's different than the seed pods that also happens. So it's like 3 times a year I've got to clean up after this tree. And then for about 3 months out of the year, it provides us with wonderful shade. So I love it. I wanted this house because of it having such a mature tree, but sadly it's gonna have to come down. So I'm also looking into planting some trees along this east side of my yard to kind of eventually provide more shade and more, you know, wildlife habitat and all of that, which the bushes will as well. So, all right, that about covers it for my east yard, August of 2022. Thanks for watching.